DreamWorks equals Dream Quest in this podcast, in this episode of this podcast.
Live in the dungeon, this is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Mick Strawn.
And this is episode 98.
Dun, 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 dun,
We saw this movie with some
We
fishes
did.
in it.
Fishes.
Who do I sound like?
Who?
I used to do MMA, and I was trained to be a fighter, and then I tried to be an actor. I don't have the accent.
Hulk Hogan?
No, Jason Statham or whatever, however he says his
Really?
last name. He's the
Statham, yeah.
Statham or whatever. I don't know.
Statham? I like him. I do. I actually, no, I do. I like him.
I like him when he
His-
doesn't talk.
The Professional.
Yeah.
He was good in The Professional.
Okay.
Especially the first one was great.
But movies where he has to act and have an emotion, I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's not Dwayne.
So right off the top, I'm already complaining about this
Yeah,
movie.
really. You're always just,
I haven't even read the description yet.
Read the description.
After escaping an attack by what he claims was a 70-foot shark, Jonas Taylor must confront his fears to save those trapped in a sunken submersible. It's not about who you kill, it's more about who you save.
Right.
That was actually sounded just like him.
Yeah,
didn't it?
exactly
Yeah.
like him.
I don't
Exactly.
really go for
why are you just piddling with this little podcast?
I don't like
when
that-
you sound exactly like Jason Stratham.
Well, I don't like how this. I don't go for this whole Clint Eastwood trying to act like Clint Eastwood, sounding like Clint Eastwood. We needed The Rock in this one. That's what we needed. We needed Dwayne Johnson in this movie. His eyebrows. That would have saved this movie, I think. For me,
You think so? For you?
I'm not saying it's a terrible movie, but I have a lot of issues with it. Probably
have a
more
lot
than
of
I can count.
I have a lot of issues with it too. So that makes it fun.
So there's an interesting article. I'm not going to read it or anything.
Oh, good,
but
please, because you were having
I
a
found it on the Wire.
tough time explaining it.
Wired.com.
Right.
And there's an article about how this movie has been in the works for 20 years.
Do tell.
Even before the book was published. This
There's
movie
a
was in the
book
works.
of this?
Yes.
See, that surprises me
yeah.
because it doesn't seem very scholarly, to say the least.
Well, I mean, what book about this could be really scholarly, really? I mean...
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so we've seen a
okay.
ton of shark movies in the
We
last
have.
month.
You
and
dragged me through
I feel
all
like
these
we should
shark
have saved
movies.
Jaws, because I feel really
I think-
dirty after watching this one. Like,
It-
I mean,
it's like
Jaws
you
was...
betrayed
Jaws was way up here.
Yeah, it was.
And then
Jaws
this one
a
was just
great
kind
film.
of...
And you know what? The funny thing is at the end of it, you got two of the best films back to back: Piranha,
Yes, and Jaws.
and Jaws, which were both great for two entirely different reasons.
And Piranha really isn't technically a shark movie, obviously, but
Yeah, well,
but it kind of fits.
yeah, it fits. It fits.
So I was on this high from our Jaws that
Yeah.
was just released,
Yeah. Then you saw this,
and then I saw this, and I'm like,
yeah.
it had a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
There's some things I liked about it,
Like what?
but we
what
should
was
start with
that?
what we don't like first.
I don't. I didn't believe the shark for a lot of the shots for the shark.
Yeah,
I
you saw the
didn't-
shark a lot.
Yeah, you did. You saw the shark a lot, and I
did like the noise the shark made when it was swimming by,
right.
and it was really loud, like.
I kind of like the shots when you were way above, and you saw it going underneath the people at the beach.
Right.
Because I mean that was impressive, but I think that they were having a lot of problems with scale. Because, for instance, there was a time where somebody was clinging to the side of a boat, and the shark came up and took a bite right next to him,
Yes.
and it was maybe 6 feet wide.
Right.
I was like, well, wait a minute. We're claiming that this shark, actually has been eating whole boats,
Well, I had that question in my mind the whole time because they showed a picture of that guy standing behind the.
Right. Didn't make any sense.
And it was about 6 feet.
Yeah, it was
so I
about
think their
6
scale
feet.
was right for that shot with the guy
Right, but
clinging to the boat. But the
right,
rest of
but-
it was BS. Maybe he
Yeah.
stretched his mouth. I don't
See,
know.
I liked I liked a couple of shots looking overhead because it was truly monstrous.
Oh yeah, well, there's one
know?
where this girl was paddling, and
Right, the girl's
That was a
paddling,
great shot.
and that was a great shot. But by itself, I have a feeling that they looked at the movie and they threw in a couple of those oversized shots
Yes,
to kind of
yeah.
hype it up a little bit, because in reality, you know, it kind of left it.
Do you know what's kind of weird? So that article I mentioned,
Yeah,
it mentions that they were thinking about releasing this in 1999,
right,
but they didn't because Disney had Deep Blue Sea coming out.
right.
But this had some similarities to Deep Blue Sea.
It did. Deep Blue Sea was a much better film. I mean, as flawed as it was, Deep
The
Blue
plot was
Sea,
better.
The plot was better.
Except for the big speech that, you know.
Yeah, well, you know. Yeah, but yeah, but in this and in this, you're right. Stratham was outacted at every turn by
Oh my gosh.
by Rainn Wilson.
Yes, Rainn Wilson was awesome. Yeah, actually, I've always liked Rainn Wilson. And the other guy, Cliff Curtis.
Right.
He was great, I thought.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Cliff Curtis was okay, but the thing is they didn't give him anything to say.
And then the Bing Bing Lee.
Bing Bing Lee.
I've never seen her before.
The thing is absolutely everybody in this, including the kid, were out acting.
Except for maybe that
Jason.
maybe one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's one character that she
I'm-
just disturbed me. That she just looked like a piece of plastic or something.
Yeah.
I can't
That
really
was
explain
the blonde.
Like everything looked fake.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, her?
yeah,
I think her and the blonde had the same problem.
Right.
Both of them.
Ruby Rose and
Yeah.
Jessica McNamee.
McNamee.
They were kind of the
They're very flat.
thin
They were-
characters.
Yeah.
So
but
this
it
movie,
was such a flawed movie. It was.
well,
such-
yeah, in a lot of ways.
just so many
Did
ways.
you notice how it was like building and building and building and building, and then all of a sudden there's this like big black hole where it just slowed down. And
Right,
like,
just
And I was
they just
like,
go
why are we
on and on
stopping?
forever? And you know, some of the best gags that they had, they stole directly from Jaws.
oh yeah, yeah,
Dragging the boat,
yeah.
you know, dragging the boat around,
And instead of buoys, they had big platforms.
Right, yeah, right, exactly. They
Literally
did.
3 of 'em.
And the funny thing is the buoys had a reason to
Yeah.
actually attach themselves, and the rafts really didn't.
Right.
Plus, did you notice this, that when you looked at the opening shot, how many rafts did you see? There was like one.
Yeah,
There was one,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the shark is dragging and collecting rafts
Multiple
from
rafts.
everywhere.
Of course, it
there
was a
weren't
huge
multiple rafts
beach.
out there.
I mean, you saw that they had one shot that was up above. It was really big scale, but all you saw were the inner tubes.
Right. Yeah, all you saw were inner tubes. I know.
Right.
All you saw were inner tubes.
But I was thinking maybe there's more beach beyond. I don't know. Whatever. I'm trying to
You're
explain
making
it.
excuses.
I sound like the
You're making
director.
it- yeah,
well,
you're-
actually,
actually,
but no, I don't know.
actually,
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things but I kind of did like some things.
yeah.
Actually at some points I did like some of the music they used.
There were points where I liked Rainn Wilson.
And the acting was. I liked his character.
His character
was great.
character was cool. I liked the little girl quite a bit.
Yeah. There were some scenes with the little girl in the hallway, and I kind of like some of those shots in the. I just
But-
liked how it
but-
looked,
but
and then
there
I
was-
also liked
But there was also something. There was something about the film that they didn't. Nobody seemed. They all seemed to be in a film. They all seemed to be saying things that were. That didn't have any technical expertise behind them.
Right.
They were saying like, well, let's go get the boat, you know, or let's get in the submarine and go down.
What was the
You know,
pressure thing?
Yeah, that didn't make any
The
sense.
pressure compensator? Or
Right.
something? It was-
Pressure. Yeah, that's right. You know, did you turn the pressure compensator on? It was like, because the capsule is getting crushed. And I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Right.
You know, there's a button that you push that in case of octopus in case of deadly octopus push this button.
Well,
No.
Morris.
It's more technical than that. You need to use the pressure compensator because the pressure compensator.
Well,
is
Rainn
definitely-
Wilson played Morris, who was like this billionaire guy.
Right.
Do you think that Elon Musk walks around saying, "Hey, push the little thingy-majig to launch the little rocket thing"?
Right.
I'm sure they use,
I'm sure he does. No, I am sure he does.
or the people he hires talk like that.
Right. Exactly.
The booster thing that pushes the rocket in the air,
the
it's
thing
not
with the
working
thing
correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely had some and you know what? The other factor is basically deep down inside, I just didn't believe anything.
Were there any shots that worked, like with that maybe scared you a little bit, or there was one that I just can't place it. There was one that I liked, but I can't remember what it was.
There was
I've already
one.
forgotten.
There was one shot. I think it was at the. Oh no! It was. There was one shot I really liked, but it was on the film that
it was a different movie.
It was a different movie.
Well, that says a lot right there.
Yeah, that does.
So what's crazy about this is people are going to like this movie, and it's probably going to do really well in the box office, I suspect, which is kind of sad.
It is, but it's just a lacking movie.
It's my argument again. You can't redo Jaws. You just can't. You can't capture that magic again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they try to do so much of this. It's like they had submarines and all this other stuff, and
a couple of the submarine effects I thought were okay, and they were obviously done in miniature. I mean, with it being crushed a little bit, some of that was pretty good. And
I felt like I was in Avatar for a second too when they went with that certain area down below. I feel like I was in Avatar. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, wait. Well, it did look like some of it was like some of the early submarine stuff in it at the very beginning, almost had that old smoke effect.
Right.
Look, it used to be that the way that you would shoot submarine stuff is you shot it in a smoke tank.
Oh.
In other words, what you would do is you would get like this, and you would have meters, and in a huge space you would constantly be pumping smoke into it, and you would get particle meters, so that you could maintain that smoke factor over long periods of time, because you ran the cameras around on tracks, and when the sub was moving, it would be moving through smoke. But the smoke and the sub would be still, and the camera is the thing that would move. And it would be on a track, because that way you didn't have to have any device that moved things that were of different shapes. You always just moved the camera. Wow. And it would be on a motion control track, and it would be, which it would definitely go, it would go burp and then shoot and then burp and then shoot and then burp and shoot.
Yeah.
And then eventually they realized that it wasn't looking very realistic. And so what they started to do is they started to open the lens while it was moving from one place to the other. And it was just a simple matter of the software.
Yeah.
I mean, all you had to do was take the exposure, instead of moving and then taking an exposure and then moving and then taking an exposure to get the movement of it. What they did is they started to just take the exposure. They would rest, then take the exposure as they were moving it to the next spot, and then move it to the next spot, and then keep on going. So it was great back in the day to go to the pace, like DreamWorks is the one that I went to all the time. It was one of the big ones that was in LA, and basically what they did is they just went into new warehouses, right? And they would rent the warehouse before anybody else had rented it out, and they would just divide it with enormous pieces of black plastic. And you could just go, and you couldn't go into a room that they were actually, you could go into a room if they were filming space stuff.
Right. Okay.
Because the space stuff was usually shot clean.
Okay.
But if you're doing the underwater stuff, the underwater stuff was always done with the smoke.
Ah.
So after a while, they had like certain buildings they were just doing. You know, when they got, because DreamWorks really did a lot of stuff in the 80s. I mean, they went from a little tiny company
Right. Yeah.
to, you know, just renting one warehouse after another. And, you know, here's the funny thing is all of that, knowing how to do that, knowing how to set up those tracks, knowing the software that goes with that, you know, knowing how the cameras worked and the cameras and this is all gone.
Huh.
They just don't, they don't do that.
Right.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Totally different now.
yeah, it's totally
Because
different.
we said DreamWorks, I was like, really?
Yeah.
I was like, what? They did what? I was like, maybe he's slipping. Maybe it's a different company he's talking about.
No.
That makes sense.
No, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? It was Dream Quest. Sorry about that.
Oh, Dream Quest.
Dream Quest. Dream
See, if you
Quest.
say it enough, I can just cut it in.
Yeah. Yep.
Dream Quest. Dream Quest. Dream
Well,
Quest.
wait a minute. DreamWorks equals Dream Quest in this podcast, in this episode of this podcast.
So Deep Blue Sea.
Yes.
This had a lot of similarities. I'm thinking about how it was a lab.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, they were kind of trapped in this place.
Right.
But one thing I liked better about this was the set and the way they had the lab designed was a lot better than Deep Blue Sea was, because Deep Blue Sea looked like a crappy lab. That was just, you know what I'm saying? I liked how it looked, I guess, overall, and it made more sense.
And that's funny. I like the Deep Blue Sea one
Really?
better. And you know what I liked about the Deep Blue Sea one and I criticized it at the time just because it was such an outlandish concept, but the fact that the sharks could go down the aisles because they were half flooded,
Yeah, yeah.
and that we got to see all these half flooded aisles and stuff, there's something kind of obliquely charming about that.
Like the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, it was
With
kinda-
sharks.
Yeah, with sharks like
I
Poseidon.
don't know. I think Deep Blue Sea was probably just as bad as this one.
Oh yeah, no, don't
Overall.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like it's a huge difference.
But it had some
I'm just
differences.
saying it was a little bit more charming. There was a lot more practical effects because Deep Blue Sea was at that time where you didn't have CGI to fall back
Yes.
on, and you
Well,
didn't have it.
The director used
yeah.
a little too much CGI.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to mention what
yeah,
director that was, but
yeah, please don't. But he used CGI. He didn't use CGI, but except for just very rarely, and they were terrible shots. But most of the CGI, most of the optical shots were actually your weakness anyway. I think the strength in that in Deep Blue Sea were the shots that were not optical.
right, yeah.
You know,
Mechanical.
seeing the I still have in my mind seeing the sharks going from room to room and the totally absurd helicopter miniature blowing up. That was pretty intense.
It was, yeah.
But I just thought that it had a little bit more charm than this.
Well, this one,
And I didn't like the lab at all.
do you think this one would have been... So here's one thing I noticed about... I'm thinking about Jaws right now and this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If they would cut out all the lovey-dovey crap and just have an action movie that's about a shark attacking all these people like Jaws was,
Right.
there wasn't really a love story there.
None.
There wasn't any backstory. There was just like, okay, we're in this deep crap and we're going to
Right,
deal with
right,
the situation.
right.
That
But
was
you
a
know
lot more
what?
interesting.
No.
You don't
it was a war film.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
it was a war film. It had that.
It was a war
you know,
film.
The buddies together, and you know, it's where you
Right.
start to care for your bud, even though
Right before he gets shot or something, like
exactly,
in war films. Yeah.
exactly. You know, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
This
yeah.
didn't have that magic. I think that's what Jaws...
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't. The group was too big for
Yeah.
one. The group was too big, and
many characters.
and getting
They didn't-
into it, they didn't really. They
Well,
really
it wasn't
didn't-
an average movie. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. But
Go ahead.
average movie where... shark movie where people start getting picked off one by one until there's
Right.
only like a few left.
Right.
I don't know
yeah,
if this
yeah,
had that.
Yeah.
I can't say.
Yeah. Really.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I do. So, hate to ask, but where are you at on it?
Well, they also didn't take out the right characters. Also, I want to mention that. Oh gosh.
Yeah, they actually kind of didn't.
I'm wondering what the heck I would rate this because I'd have to look at my spreadsheet and see what I gave Deep Blue Sea.
I knew you were thinking about that. I can't remember what I gave. Deep
What did I
Blue
give
Sea.
that zombie movie, Civil War zombie movie? Oh, I had one connection before I
2.6.
rate this.
Yeah.
One connection that I thought was interesting because I was just looking around when I was
Right.
in the car.
Right.
There's a connection to a movie that Cliff Curtis was in. And I think you'd appreciate it. I took a screenshot, actually. Where is it? Yeah. So he was in that movie. He was Nessus. He was
Yeah.
in Hercules in the Underworld.
Yeah.
1994 TV movie.
No, I know.
And I think you might... Do you have a connection with that one?
Yeah, I do.
There you go.
I was the production
I
designer.
know, that's why I
Yeah.
brought it up.
Well, I know.
No, but I was just like, he must have been really young back then. I mean...
Yeah. I vaguely remember him. I actually did when I saw him up there. And then I realized, well, he was from New Zealand. They actually filmed a lot of that in
New Zealand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
Well, I was just
So-
playing around on the phone looking at
Yeah.
all the background. Because I started with Jason Statham. And I was like, okay, what? Really? He's won an award?
Yeah, it is. It is kind of odd because I guess like I say, when you're in the middle of everything,
Yeah.
you never think that you're actually a pawn in the seven steps to Kevin Bacon game.
Well, this was like
You
one.
just never realize.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, there should be a version for Mick Strawn
There-
that our listeners can do. All 5 of them can play it.
exactly. Oh yeah, it's we could get together.
We could all just get on Skype, probably.
Yeah, that's right. Get on Skype and play the game.
So actually, this podcast kind of feels like so it's like we have a family that we don't really talk to and we don't really like, and we just send a card.
And we
once
don't
in a
really
while.
know, and we really don't care about.
We just send a card once in a
yeah,
while.
exactly.
So this is our card.
This is our card. Yeah.
Yeah. So happy birthday, everybody.
Yeah. Mwah, mwah. I'm
Here's a gift
sick.
certificate to Best Buy. No, not
That's
Best
right.
Buy. Blockbuster.
But-
here's a gift certificate to Blockbuster. But
That's right. There is one Blockbuster open
Yeah.
though. There's one in Alaska.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah. There is a Blockbuster still open.
And we got through this podcast without me complaining about MoviePass.
That's pretty good. Movie Pass is pretty much gone.
You know, I feel bad because I was talking about how great MoviePass was and how they should be a sponsor of ours, and now I
Right.
just take it all back.
Take it all back.
I'm
Well,
gonna punch him in the face now.
You know, I'm going to say it out loud here that Movie Pass was all right for as long as it lasted.
year. Well,
and I did the right thing. I
Yeah.
actually bought the 1 year.
Yeah.
I went and paid $84 for a year, and then I almost
So
I
10
set
movies
back,
a week or something.
Yeah, and I saw 135, and then there was one the other day, and one the other day. I saw 138 films.
Wow.
On $84 over a period of 8 months,
Wow.
and it
I
brought
saw
my
about like
cost.
50 probably. I
Yeah.
probably saw around 50.
Well, it brought my cost per film down to 68 cents.
Yeah.
It's
I think I'd probably pay-
actually a little bit lower.
I probably paid a
65
little
cents.
dollar, probably a dollar and a half,
There
probably
you
is what I
go,
paid. Maybe.
So I have nothing bad to say about Netflix.
Well, they delivered on their promise.
About
They said,
Movie
"Well,
Pass.
we'll
They
give it
did.
to you for a year," and they did.
Yeah, and they did. And
Some of those changes lately, and this movie was not even available.
yes, yeah, that was a pisser.
Yeah,
Yeah, but Slender Man was available. We could have seen that.
yeah, but see, we had Jaws. We were building up to this.
Yeah, I know.
film, so-
Boy, did you really? Your timing sucks. So, what are you rating this?
I'm looking forward to. I know you didn't ask me, but I'm looking forward to Annabelle. I'm looking forward to. What's the other one? Oh, Venom. I'm looking forward to Venom.
Oh
too.
yeah, I think you're more excited about Venom than I am.
Well, there's certain things that I'm wondering how well it's going to work, like how he actually looks when he's the, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So-
It looked a little bit CGI
Yeah,
strength to me. You know, not just CGI, not just strength, but CGI strength. Yeah, exactly.
So this, I would rate this kind of a little bit below average. Because
I'm giving it a 2.2.
I thought they did certain things nicely, but they were just copying Jaws, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically all it was. It was just it's a bigger version of Jaws.
It was a bigger version of Jaws, but here's the problem: is the stuff that they did that was their own original stuff sucked. So it's Jaws light bad.
And they took the wrong characters out. They instead of killing that one, they killed this other. And I'm like, they should have taken the over here. And they took the and the girl was crying about the and
then
I don't know. That was just the wrong one. But I did like they took out the that was in kind of the head
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, right. Well,
that was a good one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I like that one shot. There were a couple shots. So yeah, I'm like a 2 point.
But there was the size of that made the problem. Was a problem though. I mean,
well, the size of the doesn't always matter, but in this case it does. So I
had 2.2.
Well, I was actually going to say 2.3.
You 2.3. So.
Yeah. Just because I liked a couple shots.
You know, an awful lot of the times, and I hate to say this, but an awful lot of the time, you and I have the same mind about films.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks.
Because
I kind of wish you were more like Gene Siskel and I was like Roger Ebert. Just like, screw you, buddy. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm in Valley of the Dolls.
Yeah, Valley of the Dolls. Right. That's right. Yeah, you know. I always leaned more towards Ebert than Siskel.
Me too. Yeah.
You know, I thought Siskel was kind of an elitist prick when it got down to it. So.
Yeah. Well, Ebert had his moments where he didn't make any sense.
Well,
but now it's like, it's funny if you look at a review he did in the 80s and he was like, he sounded like he didn't know what, you totally disagreed with him. 20 years later, you find out that he was actually pretty right about certain things.
Yeah,
it's like,
no,
I mean, it's weird,
no,
but
I agree with
every
you.
critic, I don't agree with him all the time.
Just look.
I used to like Leonard Maltin too. He was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
Never liked Leonard Maltin.
I liked his little book. I used to read his
I thought
books.
his book was just random.
He picked interesting movies though.
No. I thought his reviews and his ratings of things was absolutely random. Never understood it. I mean, I understood Siskel.
Right.
I understood Ebert.
Well, at least they had reasons. They backed up everything they said.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Maltin.
He was more of a scholar though, like kind of his approach. I think it wasn't really like.
Well, as much of a scholar as an
film
idiot
lover,
could
you know what
be.
I mean? We should like do a whole show just reviewing critics.
No.
Let's talk about
No.
Jenny 35 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
I think she's the worst critic out there. Anyway,
you know,
there's probably a Jenny 35, and she's all pissed
It's funny.
off.
The thing that I've noticed about the list of people, when you get down to people on Rotten Tomatoes, there's the critics,
Yes.
and then you get down to people,
Yeah.
and the thing is why is it that opinions these days always devolve into Trump or not Trump? I don't understand this. You know, I'm looking at them going, well, you know, the thing is it only took them 5 reviews for, you know, like a walk in the park. Right. And they have 5 reviews, and all of a sudden there's a Trump opinion one way or the other, and then from then on it's just all the way down.
Yeah,
and you go,
yeah.
you know, I hate Trump too.
It's
but,
like
you
here's
know,
a bunch of reviews, and then somebody shit the bed.
Yeah, it's like that's exactly what happened.
So I think are we done with this?
I think that we're done with this. This is not enough to bring up my.
I still think there's going to be a Meg 2, and it's gonna be a thing. People like it probably. I'm just worried about that.
Well, this one wasn't at all predictable.
Actually, some of it wasn't. It wasn't predictable who was going to die necessarily.
It wasn't, but you know, when I was sitting there going, "Oh, there's another shark." Oh, wait!
Surprise, surprise!
Surprise, surprise!
This is Kurt Thomas along with Mick Strawn. Thank you for listening to the Dream Warrior Review. If you have any questions or just have feedback for our show, we welcome them at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. As always, please follow us and tell your friends about us too.